Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of PixlFeed Radio, and I'm here with my friend Corry MacDonald. Corry, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm glad to be with you, Christian.
I'm so
Thanks.
excited about this conversation. For those of you that don't know, Corry specializes in creative healing. She just released a new book that's a bestseller on Amazon. That's really good. So you go check it out over there. I'm sure the links will be in the description by the time you watch this. And she helps people to heal themselves with creativity, with art, to battle our anxiety and stress and all that good stuff that us as entrepreneurs get to deal with on a daily basis.
Oh, wow.
She has traveled the world. She's in Belgium right now, so living that digital nomad life, but with kids and a family. So
we'll talk and a dog.
And a dog. So we'll talk a little bit about everything and how we can better ourselves and be more creative and not be so stressed out. Because being an entrepreneur is stressful. It really is. Like I tell people all the time, like, listen, it's great that I got to where I'm at, but if I had to, if you gave me the choice and I didn't know that it was going to turn out the way it did after everything that I went through, I would have probably chosen just get a job, go to school, get a job, do my job, retire. And it would have been such an easier life because I look at my wife and yes, she has stress from work, but it's not the same type of stress. She doesn't have a payroll to think about, sales. It's a whole different ballgame. And I feel like this sucks the creativity out of you because you're dealing with so much technical stuff and nuances like like numbers and a bunch of other stuff. You guys know if you're listening or watching this, you're in digital, so But before we get into that, so why don't we get into your background, how it all started, from the first day you saw that you were into this. So let's get started there and how it evolved to what it is today.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's just so much there that's so juicy. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think it's so great that we're talking about this, and you're right to be in the field that you are and that we are. Is there's more components to it than the creative flow, and so if we get bogged down in that stuff, it can be intense. So we'll get into that. But just to let you know how I got to the point of calling myself a creative healer, because that's something that I had no idea I would unfold this way. But usually the very things that a healer is sharing out in the world is because it worked for me and I needed it. I needed the medicine. And then it was so effective that I thought, oh my gosh, I need to get trained in this. And then organically, it just started that, I was naturally quite drawn to nonverbal modalities. And I guess in a sense, Christian, that links into what you were saying on the intro, is that from what I've now learned from all this training in transpersonal art therapy is my main go-to, but I also understand a lot of the new science and the energy work, and I do energy healing, and knowing that we're predominantly at the essence of who we are. We're quarks. We're vibrating balls of energy. And when that energy is jammed or blocked, it really feels bad. So emotionally, we feel it. We feel blocked, or we feel exhausted. We feel like underneath there might be a anger, there might be a stuckness or a sadness or shame, even like, oh my God, I can't get this going. So there's all of that. And so what I started to notice is I was really drawn to helping myself by getting out of my verbal, because we are these holistic beings, and we have two kind of, if you break us down, we have a thinking mind and we have a feeling mind. And predominantly in the Western world, we're operating in that thinking mind. It's linear, logical, it's got numbers, you can measure it, it's very much, here's the data, and it keeps track of time, events, sequential. But then there's this highly creative part of us, this feeling mind, that is where all of this stuff that we get, these brilliant ideas or the insights, or we get a great download of ideas. Well, it also isn't taken as seriously because in the Western world, because it's messy, chaotic, it's unpredictable, it's quite childlike, it's quite wondrous, but it's not, in control. So it doesn't feel controlled. So it can be kind of discredited, but that's the thing that gets our juices flowing. And that's the thing that replenishes our energy. So we got to dip into both and get them both running
I gotta be
incoherent.
honest with you, like years and years and years, a long time ago, like I have a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine. She's one of my best friends. I talk to her every day. She's very into like energy and meditating and yoga and I do yoga for like, physical, for like, working out every once in a while, just to stretch from sitting down all day, every day. But I never believed in energy. I never believed in any of that stuff. I never thought, I still can't get meditating to work. Like my brain is always going 100 miles per hour. But there was 2 events in my life that completely changed that and changed the way that I looked at things for the rest of my life. And one was I did shrooms and forest, and that's an experience that it will take hours for me to explain what I saw. And I remember like it was yesterday.
Yes.
And the second one was I dropped a tab of acid at a Tool concert, and that was just equally as mind-blowing. And the connection that, and with both events, only done them once. Well, shrooms I've done twice, but the acid one once. And both events were very similar in what I felt like at that moment. And I'm atheist. Well, I guess I'm not atheist anymore, like agnostic, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
That's when I realized that, whoa, wait a minute. There's something else. Like there's something else out there for sure. This is not just, my brain releasing a bunch of dopamine all at once. Like it was a life-changing experience. So now I go back and look at art that was made in the 60s, 70s, even the 80s, and even now. And I'm like, okay, now I get it even more, So I think that's why I really want to talk to you, because I think it was a very powerful experience for me. And I was already, well, one was in my late 20s, the other one was my early 30s.
Sure.
So relate to that.
I know. Isn't it mind-blowing when you have a certain life experience that it's this way, and then you have one experience like the shrooms or, whatever, the acid, that just, whoa, there's other possibilities here, and it's quite, it can be off-centering, but it's also helpful because there's so much more to us. We have so much more capacity, and we have infinite potentials that no one on earth taught us how to access these. It was never part of our education, right? And when we have this really limited and like, okay, every day is the same pattern, we aren't meant to live like that. We have so much more capacity for it's really great when you have these kind of mind-blowing experies that
don't go out there and do it. That's just my personal experience. I mean, I was very grown up, way and into adulthood when I decided to do that, but it was kind of like an eye-opening experience, not because of what happened and what I experienced both times. And one was the perfect setting because it was one of my favorite bands in the whole world, and the other one just happened. I was like, in a forest, whatever. But it made me realize how, I'm in front of a computer all day. So what colors am I looking at all day? I'm looking, especially Facebook, because that's all, blue, white, and then gray. That's what I look, all the dashboards that I look at literally all day, those are the colors I stare at all day. And it's, when you realize that when you look outside and go outside, it's like, and you see the bright colors, like the greens and the oranges, the sunsets, the sunrises, like it really has it changes your mood. Like that's why I love, like I have a bunch of colors like in my office just because it brightens up my day and it puts you in a good mood. And they say that colors, depending on the colors that you have in your room, the way you paint your room, it changes your mood, right?
That's so true. I mean, we know it. Like, look at you. You're just you feel it, right? You got those things in your office in the minute you need, or if you need that, just a switch, like you said, you went to the yoga, or you just literally step outside and put your feet in some grass and you just feel different because we actually are nature. We aren't machines. So we attune to it instantly. And you're right. They've done studies of art in hospitals that it's got a nature scene, just even sticking a photograph of like a waterfall in somebody's room in the hospital, their healing time is quickened because we attune to that very thing. And when it's a match, it's the essence of who we are. It matters. And that's why, like, even those experiences you mentioned having, we actually have the neurotransmitter in our brain that we can create that organically within our own brain. We don't actually need the outside helpers, but it that does involve going deep within. And most of us are not turning inward. We're so busy. We
That's
got
the
stuff to
argument. That's
do,
the
right?
argument I have with my friend. Actually, Shannon. She knows who she is. That's the
Shannon.
argument I have. She's like, you can do that through meditation. I was like, there's no way I can experience the same thing that I did through. I'm sorry, Shannon. I love you, but it's not happening. Like, she swears by it. I'm like, I just don't see. I can't. I don't know. I mean, it will take a lot for me to be able to do
it's
that.
crazy. It's all there. We got the hardware. But the cool thing is, I guess that's why I'm drawn to the art therapy, because I take a transpersonal approach, and all that's a big word, meaning that we have the stuff inside of us is all the stuff of life. So we're the micro to the macro. And with art therapy, the art I'm talking about is like, we could liken it to preschool art. It's literally emotions our emotions are energy emotions. So we're flowing out emotions out of us. So stuff that's stuck or anything that's stressful, we're getting it out onto a container, which would be piece of paper
Yeah.
or, like whatever is going to hold that stuff so that we can look at it. And therapy, for the way I use it, is just the basic Greek is therapia, which means to intend towards. And what are we intending towards? We're intending towards feeling better and enjoying life. Like, we came here for more than just drudging through. So we came here for some joy and some flow and some ease. So that's what I love about it, is it actually is a kind of meditation. It's measurable. They could collect the data. You start to regulate your nervous system. You start to feel that they do brain scans. You get out of beta stress mind. You get more into alpha, even theta states. You start to deepen your breath. All of these are really great physiological effects that we would get meditating, but we're just doodling. So for people who can't just sit in the silence and meditate, they often say to me, Corry, this is kind of my form of meditation, because you still get in that zone that you can flow that stuff out. And actually, I teach people not just to purge the stuff that's feeling heavy or trapped or stuck. I teach you actually have this innate intelligence to take it and pivot it so that whatever it's blocking, you can access it. And I
tell my wife all the time, because she's like, we have conversations and stuff. We've been together forever. So it's like, I try to explain to her, because she's complete opposite of me. And I tell her, I'm like, listen, like, if I could explain to you what goes on in my head all day, you will think I'm crazy. Like, I'm literally, like, I'm sitting here and I'm having two different conversations with myself about two completely different things that have to do with work while I'm sitting here looking at you. And I know it's like,
yeah.
She's like, that's schizophrenia. I'm like, it's not like, I'm not hearing voices or anything. I'm like thinking of stuff that I have to do or what I want to do. And I'm literally having two conversations in my own head, talking to myself at the same time that I'm like hanging out or doing something. And she's like, there's some of us, and I'm sure you've seen it, like, it's hard for us to relax. Like, I cannot relax. It's very hard. Like yoga, I enjoy the physical aspect of it. But to me, when I'm there for an hour and a half, it's complete torture mentally, because I'm like, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And then like my thoughts are like racing in my head. So when you figure out you could use this to heal yourself and help others, heal themselves to relax and deal with stress and anxiety, what are the steps that you take to start minimizing our hyperactive brains?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And I love that you speak that out loud, because I lived like that for decades. I thought, I honestly, my husband called me the just one more thing girl, because I would already have 5 things like just humming.
Yeah.
And then I'm a Virgo, and we're perfection. Like, we have to have everything
I'm a Virgo.
order.
Yeah, I'm a Virgo too. So yeah, trust me, I know.
So we got to have it all in order, like even data in our mind.
I'll walk into a room, and if a picture frame is moved by a millimeter, I'll be like, who moved that? Right away. Or I used to joke around, like my mom used to yell at me about my room as a teenager because there was stuff everywhere. And I would walk in, I was like, where's my shirt? That was right there on that corner. And she's like, I cleaned. I'm like, no, I knew it was there. That was the spot for it. So.
Tracking. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. We can get loads done, us Virgos, and we can have that mind. And again, I told you the thinking mind is humming, right? And it's like a monster that spawns 5 heads, that spawn 5 more heads, that spawn. it's a problem-solving machine. So when we function too much in it, it just means we're out of balance. I mean, I had a friend who used to come over and he would be like, I can't look at your calendar. It's scaring me. I would have every to the 10-minute plan of my day, right? And like, he's like, when do you pee? Like, when do you eat lunch? And you have 3 children. This is what I had little kids. The most unpredictable. Now they're teens. They can fend for themselves, eat their own food. But yeah, I just think we become a kind of like that becomes our new norm. And we are amazing as humans. We can recalibrate and set a new normal. But at what cost, right? Like I realized it started happening as kind of downward spiral. I couldn't keep up with my own self. And I was also recognizing I was losing connection with like my kids. I would be there physically, but again, like you said, my mind was like going. So I was just so like stuck in my thinking mind. I didn't know how to drop into my heart, my body. So it's really, really like anything, like going to the gym or going to your yoga. It's a practice. And even meditation. It's actually good stuff to hear that you're aware that when you're trying to meditate, your mind is going like off, because that is meditation. It doesn't mean you sit there on this perfect pillow and you're completely empty. That's not the point of meditation.
That's what everybody makes it seem, though, that you're supposed to sit there just quiet. And it's like, oh, just clear your thoughts. I'm like, yeah, it's not that easy. I can't just shut up in my own head.
And you're not alone. No, that is the point of meditation. It's to return back to center, to return back. So it's our nature to wander, and we have to work with our mind. But we can train it, and it is amazing. If I can now have a quiet mind, I know anyone can, because I should almost have saved that calendar. Like it was terrible, and it was color coded too. It was just all over, So I would say a beautiful way to start, and especially for those, like I was like you too. I couldn't just sit. I had to be at least moving, like yoga or something like that. Something I do with everybody, whether I'm doing a workshop or one-on-one, and I do this for myself because my mind still loves I love those lists, right? And I'll be, and this one people love to do before bed. They tell me they sleep much better, and all I do is I just tell people to do a brain dump.
Oh man.
I have
you know what my brain dump is before I go to bed? 3 hours of TikTok now, because and I just like, well, I need to know what's going on in social media. And then next thing you know,
and that's
I'm scrolling for 3 hours on TikTok.
And that's why you get even more. So then we've activated that blue light, right? And that melatonin.
Oh no, I got blue light blockers. Because I know, see?
You're
I'm my
hilarious.
worst enemy. I'm like my own worst enemy. I swear. At least I admit it, right?
No, but that's the thing. We have to figure out what's not working to figure out what we want to shift. And you know what's going to happen when you finally get to the point where you're like, I don't want to do it this way anymore. It's affecting this, or it's affecting that. When there's an incentive to change, you will. We do. We course correct, and some people, they take longer, and some people just don't even want to. So you have to have that desire. But the moment you I would say, why not just play with it? Be like a childlike curiosity and just say, okay, I'm not going to commit to total thing, but I'm going to just take one factor and try to change it for maybe even just say for 1 week or 3 days. So you might even just say, okay, I'm going to set a bedtime, and instead of grabbing my phone, I'm going to stick my phone. I literally have to put my phone in the other room because I'm such a cheater, right?
I actually, you know what? I do scroll through TikTok like 3 hours, but I fall asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
But if I fall asleep on the couch and I wake up like, a couple hours to go to my room, I always leave my phone in the living room. I don't take it with me.
There you go.
So it doesn't need to go with me. Because what happens in the middle of the night? What's going to happen? Either someone died or someone go to jail. And I don't want to find out about either until the next day. What am I going to do about it?
It's not your circus, right?
Yeah.
Well, and then all you need to do is, I just tell people, just have like literally a notepad, can be tiny, whatever, at the side of your bed, and you can have a pen, or even have markers or pack of crayons stolen from the, I don't know, Pizza Hut, whatever. Like they get the kids those little crayons back in the day when we used to go to restaurants. And literally, you this is how you start training yourself to get out of this one. So this one's going to be going like, oh, about the day, and oh, I got to call so-and-so tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. You just literally, you got to mark it with your hand on a heart. And I put the other hand on my belly. So I directing, literally, Corry, breathe here. And then I just quieten my mind, and I quieten to my breath as best as I can. But I focus on the heart and really put all my attention there. That is huge in and of itself. And then what HeartMath, they are measuring this stuff. Heartmath.org, great website. They help with guys who've seen combat with post-traumatic stress. They have a lot of people who are really in the mind, helping to bring us into our heart. And the math is now shown that our electromagnetic field around our heart is 5,000 times stronger than that of that monkey mind. So when we get that harnessed, when we just take that step, it will work for us. And if you bring about an elevated emotion, like just calm, like peace, or just gratitude or something, just breathe. And I literally ask people, just say the word peace.
Right.
You'll feel your shoulders soften. You'll feel your face slacken. You'll just start to calm yourself down. And then from that place, if the mind is still inattering, no worries. I say, just grab a crayon. You don't even got to know what color, just intuitively grab. Let the heart grab one. And don't start analyzing, oh, I grabbed red, it must mean I'm angry.
That's me.
See, I knew you were gonna. So you just shut your eyes then if you're gonna create conversation. We're not going into conversation. We're breathing into that heart. And yes, you might have to go, oh, right, I'm in my heart. So I'll even ask people, put your one hand on your heart, one on your crayons, and just start to just go. Mine tend to go like big spirals, and then they start to calm down, Some people have shark's teeth, or you don't know what's going to come out. You're moving energy. You're moving energy out of you and onto the page. So it's no longer whipping around your body. And the first time you do it, you will be so amazed. It's just so much fun. And the minute you're done with that crayon, you're bored. Instead of thinking, I'm bored, this isn't work, drop it. Pretend like you're a kid. When kids are bored, they just drop stuff and they grab the next one.
They do.
They don't care. They just drop it. I hate this. I'm going to grab this. And you just do that. And all of a sudden, you'll just notice you're really into that. You've zoned in.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing so hard because I'm thinking of my son. He's only like a year and 8 months. And it's like when he doesn't want something, he's like, I'm done. He just throws it. It's like, whatever, I'm done. Like there's no filter, no nothing. And it cracks me up.
It's so
it makes total sense because there's no filter. There's no filter yet. It's just, that's how I feel. I don't have to be nice in front of you.
Oh my God. And how gorgeous that you have a guide. He is your mentor for the heart moving from the thinking or feeling mind. Because I remember I told you that one often doesn't get taken seriously because it's chaotic, it's messy, and it is. It's childlike, and it'll just throw something if it doesn't like it. And it'll just grab some. Because people say, oh, how do you know what color to use or what materials or what brush? I used to set out a big buffet of stuff to use, and then people, depending on someone's culture or background or experience, a lot of us had horrible experience with art. I remember an art teacher freaking out on me because I colored the sky purple or something. A lot of us haven't had the best experiences. So
that's horrible. What, is it supposed to be blue because it's blue for real? Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Talk about too literal, right? But I think it's really important that children are really, they're genius. They teach us what we were kind of socialized, and we were given very strong message of what's appropriate and what's not. And they just know that if I've seen kids just bust out in the supermarket and just start spinning, and now that I know a bit of neuroscience and stuff like that, I realize that kid's totally regulating their vestibular. I just can see that this is so, and it's so good. You see kids will just shake something off. They're mad.
Yeah.
When my kids were little and they'd fight, and then one would walk away and they'd shake. And I've heard Eckhart Tolle say, watch the ducks when they're pissed off, they have a fight and then they shake off and then that's it. They don't carry decades of, that fight from 10 years ago. They're not carrying that stuff or ruminating on it, right? So there's physical things we can do too. So I would even suggest that when you're doing your yoga, pay attention to the moves that feel really good, because they're good. That when it feels good, it's doing something good for your system to align you. So it's always follow that path of ease, and that always is good.
What do you think people hold on, like when we're adults? Why do you think that we just what's the word I'm looking for? Retain our emotions, or just hold on to our emotions, and not, especially guys, we're taught from another. I mean, it's not so much anymore. They're like all the PC stuff and more, whatever.
Mm.
But the way I grew up, I'm an old millennial, I guess. It was like, you're a guy, you're supposed to like just hold it in and move on, don't cry, like. And how do you think that affects us as adults? Like, I mean, I don't care. I got through that years ago. It's like, I just tell you what's in my mind and I don't care, like it or not. I don't have to answer anybody. So that's one thing of being able to do whatever I want. I don't have to answer anybody. So I can tell you exactly how I feel. And it doesn't affect my livelihood or anything. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how do you think that's changing? How do you think that holding those emotions then affect you as an adult when it comes to life in general and like work and everything?
Oh, it's such a great question. And I think that is why I love doing what I do, because you're right. Most of us were never given permission to, especially, I don't call it emotions, positive and negative. I use light and dark or light and heavy, actually, because some make us feel heavy, like literally sadness, anger, shame, disgust, regret, like all those things. And then certain emotions, like we just come alive, like joy, peace, happiness, love. So when we're kids, when we had especially like it's starting, like you said, it's starting to evolve. But you think about only a few generations back, they were just survival mode. So there was no talk about, is your job giving you joy? Like it was just, we got to move on,
Yeah.
So you think about what we were downloaded from as little kids. We're just like brand new little, like laptops. We're just taking the programming.
Well, not only that, but
us,
I mean,
right?
I don't know about other religions, but I grew up Catholic, and Catholic is all about shaming you your whole freaking life. Everything you do, it's like you're gonna go to hell. Like you shouldn't do that. Like, oh, you like a girl, that's horrible. Hold on your feelings. Sex, that is horrible. And then when you get older, it's like this is what we're supposed to do. This is what all animals do.
Yes.
How is that bad? This is where we come from. I mean, I'm not saying go do that when you're a kid, but you know what I'm saying. Like growing up Catholic, you get shamed about everything. Like everything you do.
I hear you, and that's it. We got this information coming from whatever our culture is, our belief system, our caregivers, our teachers. Like really, I remember I couldn't have a purple sky. All of these things, right? We take all these messages, and we're little people who are looking up to these ones who are downloading us, and we take it as God's truth, even though over time we start to get aware. But those things get lodged, and they don't leave us, right? So messages like, boys don't cry, stop your crying, or be nice to your brother, don't be angry. That it's not nice for girls to be angry. We get all of these things, or we'll see stuff on media too, right? And we'll think, oh my gosh, like I just don't. So all of that is in us. And you're right, we don't have the power tools to flow those emotions, our energy, emotion. They get lodged and they'll get stuck somewhere. And then it will have a correlation with, we feel dis-ease, like we start to, and we take on habits that we avoid feeling them too. I write about this in my book. Like we touched on over busying our lives, right? Like I just see that that is a form for me. When I start getting super turbo busy, there's usually something I'm avoiding. And I need to slow down and ask. I go in my heart and I just say, what is it that I'm avoiding? And you get better and better at this. You start to feel in, and then something will come to my consciousness, like a conversation. Then I'll dig under it, and that's when I use the art. Because if we start to try to solve a problem from the same mind that created it, we aren't going to get there, because we'll just create more story. That's why some people talk therapy works beautifully, and I never put it down at all. But for me personally, because I was amped up so much, if I added more conversation to my problems, I just created mega problems. So when I was told to stop talking and to say, feel, what's underneath all that running around? And now, what does it look like? And what's going on? And what color would that be? What shape would that be? All of a sudden, I had my hands just started creating information on the page. And then when you own that and say, okay, I'm avoiding something really tender here. When we own that, instead of being a victim to it, it becomes like our absolute, I say the ultimate art material. Because then we can ask higher questions of it. Like, what are you here to teach me? What do I need to learn really well about all of this going on in my life right now? And if we can get to the point, we can even take it to, what if this wasn't a problem? Like, what if this is actually a gift? And then we can literally pivot that and start to feel in, if I didn't have this, what would that look like? What would I feel like? And we actually create a template. And as you're creating that way, solution oriented, it opens up this space inside of you. I think you probably experienced a little bit of that with your mushroom trip, but you
Yeah.
organically can open up a deep, quiet, and I call it.
Oh, it was deep for sure.
Deep, and I call it the creative intelligence. You can call it
It's
whatever
a little too
you
much
want.
at one point, but
Yeah.
I was able to control it, luckily.
Oh my gosh, you're hilarious. But at that point, it's incredible. People will sometimes get incredible solutions in the session, or they'll go out and something will bridge from that moment into their life, like maybe a day or two later, like a conversation will come into their life, or an opportunity, or literally a song will be playing and they'll think, oh my God, this is completely related to this. There is a bigger, like you learned, there is a far bigger intelligence. We're more than this jeans and a t-shirt running around here. Like there's so much more, right? So how do we access that? Like, how do we have that? This is a way of accessing it. There's so many ways.
And we're so significant if you think about it. Like I was watching a video the other day on YouTube, because every time I go to upload things to YouTube, of course, as soon as I open the homepage, the algo gets me. I'm like, oh, I want to watch that. And the next thing you know, I spend another hour in the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But I was watching a video that showed like village people reacting to the size of Earth. And it's like people from like tribes from like, I don't remember what parts of the world, but
fascinating.
they never seen it because they're so isolated from, the world or whatever, from civilization. And when they explain to them how big the Earth is in relation to the sun, and then they zoom out and it's like, okay, here's our galaxy, here's our planets, and here's the Milky Way, and here's this, and here's that, and here's that. And then next thing you know, we're like a grain of sand in like this whole thing that we can't even see the rest of it. That goes on infinite. It goes on forever. We have no idea where it came from. Well, quote unquote, I guess we do, but there's so many questions that we're nothing. We're like a grain of sand out there. And, we're so self-centered about our lives that we forget that there's more to it than just like run, go, go, go. And like, take it in.
That was so well put. That's actually, I love that you shared that. And you know what? That's another gorgeous meditation right there for perspective. Yeah. And for just like, when things feel like completely cramped and like, oh, I've got a million things to do in like 5 minutes, that is a very, very powerful meditation, what you just described there. So it
was mind blowing because I don't think about it, until I'm like, I mean, I know it, but it's not like something I think about daily, and it just reminded me, I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy.
Yeah. Like just to put your awareness, like taking that much wider perspective of what we are, right? Yeah. I think that's so true. I love that too. When we were flying, I always love that in the airplane, when you see your little world get smaller and smaller, or you hear children on the flight just blown away, like, oh, that's a car, like this little speck, and you think, oh, again, the kids they got it so real,
So since you have lived in many different places around the world, and you know how we are here in the US, where again, go, 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 go. What have you learned from other cultures and other places that you lived at, of how they approach their health when it comes to, using creativity, or like, I lived in Venezuela, for example, and over there it's like so chill, and it's like everything's so colorful, and it's a whole different lifestyle than here in the US. I mean, each of them are amazing in their own way, but I feel like
Yeah.
here it's like we work too much. It's like we
Yeah.
don't stop to enjoy life.
And well, yeah, and that's so important to notice, right? Because we are, okay, I don't know if you're jumping in fully convinced with your friend Shannon and I, but Shannon and I feel we're hey Shannon, you're listening to this. I
You'll
hope
get along with her, trust me.
maybe her and I will connect after. But if we are truly streams of consciousness, then you're right. When we live somewhere, you can even, I remember hopping off an airplane when I got to Bali, and I just was like, oh, the vibe is so good here. We feel vibes, right? So we do, and we catch the vibe of somewhere. So you're you're very right. It's pretty go 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 in the US, and it's so intense that way. And yet that's also a superpower, right? Because look at the amazing things that come out of that. But it can also be a curse. And on the flip side, like I'm thinking about when we lived in Japan, and I learned really quickly. And Canada. Okay, I'm Canadian. Canada, we take a note from the U.S. too. We're very young cultures, so we're kind of excitable. Look at us chatting, and we're laughing, and
Right.
we feel really. A big thing is that chatty and friendly nature, kind of like kids in a sandbox, because we're young cultures. And then I go to Japan. It's ancient. You could
Right.
just feel it. My neighbor and I, we lived across with tiny, tiny houses. There's not a lot of space. My mom said that my husband and I were both, I'm 6'1" and he's 6'4". We're not
Oh
little
my
people.
God.
I know. Can you imagine? And I'm
You
living in
guys, are your
Japan.
kids super tall? You guys starting a basketball team?
Oh, they're totally basketball players. Yeah, I've got a 13-year-old who's like towering over
Oh
me
my
now. Like
God.
yeah. So
That's awesome.
it's cool. And they all want to move to the US because they're like, there's no basketball in Belgium.
Yeah. So we want that contract in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. You know what's going on here. So yeah, when we got to Japan, not only did we physically stand out and not fit, I started my body language. My mom I'd come home in the summer and she'd say, "You guys look like you're Canada geese. You're like bobbing." Because Japanese don't wave. You don't do big gestures. Your hands are at your side and you're bowing. And literally, it, you read silences there, so it's less words, and a silence could mean a yes, a silence can mean a maybe, depending on the
That is so true. I never thought about that with Japanese
mm,
culture. Yeah, they can say yes and no just with silence. That is, yeah. I never thought about it that way, but yeah.
yeah. And in a culture that is see, we're very much independence, our own freedoms, right? We're all about that more, and in the West. But in Asia, when we lived in Japan, we lived in Thailand, we lived in Singapore, in Asia. But the in Japan especially, it's all about choa, harmony, the community. You're thinking for the group. It's groupthink. So you're not going to try to out talk someone, right? Like there's this kind of rhythm in the conversation when there's a group. And even when I would try to put a buffet of art materials out, I had to learn from feedback from my students or workshop attendees that it's too much. Like
Right.
less is more here, right? So it
Mhm.
would be more, especially with the workshop, I'd say, okay, so I'll give you a choice. You could use this XYZ color, or you could use, so I would just kind of make it milder and less, tone it down a notch kind of thing. And I thought, isn't that beautiful? Like it is a more subtle culture and more subdued culture. So it was really a lesson with that. And then when we went from Japan to Thailand, that's was such a shift because that's when I had a physical studio and we could integrate things like meditation because it's a Buddhist culture, right? So
Right.
that was fascinating to me. That's when it really took off a transpersonal approach for me. And I developed a lot too and learned so much from all the people I had the honor of working with because a lot of them were like serious meditators, or they were at a certain level of consciousness so that the workshops could go into interesting places. Like I had a group and they all got to know each other quite well. So all of a sudden there's this real trust and synergy that happens. And that was kind of near the end of a course, and they said that let's all create and not look at what anyone's doing, because usually you're in your own flow anyways. But I would give them a little hint or a prompt, but whatever they wanted to throw in the art, upcycle, whatever they
Right.
were grinding on in life, it's like just take your lead. But interestingly, all of them started to create. They all their backs to each other, and they kind of in a circle on the floor. Most people just sit on the floor. It's just really relaxed. And all of a sudden we finish, and every single image, no one looked at each other. There was almost all of them had a bird. It was in flight. And we were all ready to kind of leave. They were all, a lot of them had finished the course, or abstract kind of picture that had this kind of winged kind of imagery in it. And that was a fascinating situation, because a lot of those people came in thinking, I have not a creative bone in my body. And a few of them went through like kind of big career changes, leaving corporate, maybe deciding to start one woman, all her art seemed to look like textiles. And she remembered as a young woman, she really wanted to work in the clothing industry. And
Right.
by crazy luck, would you say? I don't know, because she had activated that. And within a few weeks of the course, she reconnected through Facebook with a friend that she was in design school with, saying, listen, I'm opening up a shop. I keep thinking of you. I would love to work with you. Are you still working with this? And so they started to work on a business together. So, it was a good lesson for me on the power of that, of dipping into that more of who we are.
That's
And
like it, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And how many dreams are inside of us that we just don't get access to because we're busy, So it was
Right.
really cool to see when these women committed every week, just a couple hours a week. Wow, what was unearthed through that process? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. So we're kind of close on time. So I want to get to this. The book. So if somebody goes out there and gets the book, it's on Amazon again, Life in Full Colors. What is that book walks them through in order to be the best that they can be and get rid of all that anxiety, stress, and all that stuff that we deal with as entrepreneurs, or even if you have a corporate
Mm.
career or whatever? How does the book help you get through it?
Oh, I love that you asked that, because the book really is a help. It's not just a book. You're not just going to read this book. You have get yourself a little pack of crayons from that
Yeah.
restaurant.
Just go like this.
Fill a pack of crayons. Because really it was born out of so many people leaving a workshop or leaving, working with me one-on-one or what have you, and saying, why don't you write this in a book? Like, if it's that easy, and like no one taught us this, right? So I finally got the opportunity during lockdown. What else are you gonna do?
Right.
And it just downloaded so quick through me, because it's got a few chapters, foundational chapters, especially for you if you're listening and thinking, it sounds good, but there is no way in heck that I can be creative. It's for you, because it's not about making a nice pony to put on your
And a lot of
wall.
the people watching this, I'm telling you right now, a lot of the people watching this and listening to this, we're all techies. We're reading data all day long.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
know I'm a lot more creative than that, because when I was a kid, I was in school plays. I did student films. I used to draw. So that's why I was so excited to talk to you, because I feel like
Yes.
that's taken such a backseat because of the career I chosen,
Yeah.
that I've been wanting to unlock that for a while back up. So that's,
Oh,
I'm so
it's so
excited to
good.
talk to you today.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I'm sure they're on the same,
And
same.
that's it. And my husband, like you said, we marry our opposite, right? So James is
Absolutely.
so not the kind of guy to do this. He read it and he said, okay, first of all, it's like sitting and talking to you. It's your same voice. So he said, I love that. And he said, and the other thing is, Corry, it's like I could do this. It's like a workshop, and it's really inviting you to. I like you use the word unlock. It is to unlock that childlike curiosity. So you're uncovering that creative intelligence right within you. And there are 7 steps that are simple to follow, but the whole way through, I'm throwing in stories of people who, same thing, work in jobs like you just described, that know that they're creative, but how do you get that out? And I know that that's good for my good medicine, for my mental health, for my quality of life. And this book just puts it all together for you. And some people were asking me to make an online course because they wanted me to help them along with it too, not just the book.
Yeah,
So
you should.
I actually did. I finally did that. And so every month I offer the companion course, and at the top of the month, it's all on my website. And then I know we're all busy as entrepreneurs. So you do your own rhythm through the week, and it's very easy. It's videos, and there's few PDFs and exercises to do. And then what we do is we meet on Zoom every Sunday at the end for 4 weeks. It's every 1 month it runs. And we just do what we're doing right here. We talk about real life stuff going on, and then we put it in the art. I show you how to upcycle it and shift it. And that's how you learn. And you just end up with really good power tools that after a while, you don't even need the crayons. You just can do it
The
energetically.
crayons, I love that. I mean, think about it. Now that we're talking about this, and I haven't thought about this in years.
What's that?
But is there any more satisfying feeling that when you get that big box of crayons and you open it and you see all the colors perfect, as a Virgo, perfectly lined up from left to right, and it's like the perfect shade from one side to the, to me, that is like little things that are so satisfying. Corey, no, I lost you, Corey. But anyway, we were almost done anyway. So Corry, when you watch this again, thank you so much for coming on, and go get her book. Links will be all in the description. And everybody who watched and listened, thank you so much. And I'll see you guys next time.